Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. And welcome to today's Enterprise Connect webinar, How is the emergence of communications technology impacting the enterprise's digital transformation? Sponsored by BICS and broadcast by Informa. I'm Eric Kraft with Enterprise Connect, and I'll be your moderator today. We have just a few announcements before we begin. This webinar is designed to be interactive. The dock of widgets at the bottom of your screen will allow you to learn about today's speakers, download resources, share this webinar via social media outlets, and participate in the Q&A session that takes place at the end of our presentation. The slides will advance automatically throughout the event. You may also download a copy of the slides via the resources widget. At the end of our webinar, we'll ask you to complete our survey found on the right-hand side of your screen. Please take a minute to fill this out before leaving us today, as your feedback will provide us with valuable information on how we can improve future events. Lastly, if you're experiencing any technical problems, please click the Help widget found at the bottom of your screen or type your issue into the Q&A area, and we'll be glad to offer one-on-one assistance. So now on to the presentation. How is the emergence of communications technology impacting the enterprise's digital transformation? Discussing today's topic are Zeus Kerravala, founder and principal analyst at ZK Research, Francesco Graziano, go-to-market senior manager at BICS, and Gabriel Salvate, business development director for IoT at BICS. So Zeus, Francesco, and Gabriel, over to you.
Thank you. All right. Well, thanks for the intro, Eric. I think this is a great topic. I think BICS, you're going to do a couple of moments up front, though. No, okay. Anyways, digital transformation has been a pretty hot topic over the last really decade or so. I think often communications is an underappreciated part of companies' digital transformation plans. And as one CIO said to me a little while ago, he's starting to realize communications is everything. It's how we interact with our employees and customers and things like that. So I think this is a really great discussion. I'm going to open it up with some opening thoughts and then turn it over to the BICS team for their thoughts. The agenda we're going to follow here is, as I mentioned, I'll set it up initially talking about the state of the market. We'll then, take a look at what BICS is doing in this space and, how they're tying a lot of what you're going to do in the digital side to communications. Now, the big driver of digital transformation is the shift really to a customer experience economy. Digital initiatives, there's not a company out there today that doesn't have at least one digital initiative underway. When I talk to organizations about what their digital transformation plans are, invariably the majority of initiatives tend to rely around customer experience improvement. And that's because customer experience has now become the top brand differentiator. In fact, I think it goes way back in 2015, Walker Group and Gartner Group and a few others predicted that it would take until 2020 for that to happen, but actually it happened I think in 2017, 2018. It's now extremely important for companies. The importance of customer experience, though, is made understanding your customers and this whole concept of customer centricity more important as a differentiator. It's not just can you provide a great experience, can you personalize, can you customize things from a customer perspective. I think, and what that leads us to is there's a number of different ways to improve customer experience. One is obviously you can have a better trained contact center, you can have better trained salespeople, but that isn't what consumers are looking for today. Customers want to be reached out to with relevant information, with the right message at the right time. I think too often we treat customers as just a, in these kind of large aggregate buckets, within certain demographics and things, and that's not always right. And so every customer is unique. In fact, if you look at the brands that have done that, they've actually gained a disproportionate advantage. And so I think now is the time, if really almost from a survival perspective, if you're going to do it, you need to figure out how to actually personalize those interactions better. You can see one of my interesting data points here. 86% of companies have digital transformation plans that involve customer experience. And this is really requiring an entire rethink of customer experience. I think, as I mentioned, historically, there's many touch points when it comes to a customer across the customer journey. And we've often treated these things in different silos. So what we do on the front end is different than the back end, which is different than what marketing does. And it leads to some scenarios where companies can be running parallel initiatives that the other group isn't really aware of. Sometimes they conflict with one another, but it creates at best some inconsistency, and then that creates frustration for customers. Just some other data points from my research. You can see here how important CX is today. 2/3 of millennials, this is from my research last year, admitted they changed loyalties to a brand because of a single bad experience. And it's not just millennials doing this. This is the highest demographic, but it's really people across all demographics today. And so from a business perspective, you don't often get a second chance. And so as you're going to roll out these digital initiatives, if they don't work, or the experience is poor, or it's inconsistent, you're going to lose that customer to another brand, because obviously customers have so many choices today. 90% of companies compete on customer experience, and this is up from only 28% 5 years ago. And this shows kind of the marked difference that we have. This isn't about price or product quality or even having the best people. It's how you treat your customers. And competing on customer experience, again, isn't just you have the best contact center agents, you have the best salespeople. It's that entire customer journey from end to end. Can you make it matter to that specific customer? As I talked about, 2018 is when customer experience became the top brand differentiator. And then another interesting aspect is 52% of companies will actually use artificial intelligence to improve customer experience. And this has been a big trend that I've been watching. I know it's going to be a big trend in the upcoming Enterprise Connect show as well. But there is so much data out there today that it's hard for companies to understand what all that data means manually. In fact, there used to be an expression that every organization is a technology company, but that's kind of changed to every organization is a data company. And so the companies that are going to be successful are the ones that understand what data they have and how to use it and what it means on a per customer basis. Now, I've talked about this already, but consumers want personalized information, and that comes down to what I talked about with the data that businesses have today. There is so much data out there coming in from so many different sources. The question is, as an organization, can you understand what that data is telling you? Can you find those key insights? In fact, someone asked me the other day to define digital transformation in one word. And I said, well, I think it's speed. It's the company that can find those key insights faster than the competition. It's all about speed, right? And so, that's where the analytics become important. So consumers, they want information that's important to them. And this is everything from, company promotions to what items they've purchased before, invoicing, bills, things like that. Don't wait until the customer contacts you to let them know there's a problem. You should be much more proactive about that. Brands definitely need to know the customer and communicate with them in a way that they want and in a way that adds value. So there are many, many different channels to communicate with customers today. And, there's no real right answer to this. Again, if you look across the different demographics, older generation still prefers phone and email, younger generation prefers, messaging and, mobile pushes and things like that. And so there's no real right answer to which channel is best. They're all important. In fact, if you look, most interactions, consumer will often change channels or preferred mode of communications within that conversation. And so from a brand perspective, you need to communicate with them in the way they want, but in a way that adds value as well. Any kind of inbound inquiry also needs to be responded to quickly and accurately. I think the days of having the customer repeat information over and over and over to an agent or a salesperson, is quickly coming to an end. If you put a customer through that, they're going to take their business elsewhere. And so accuracy is extremely important here. And this, again, comes down to the best customer experience isn't just about having the best trained people. It's about providing those people the right information, when they need it, to allow them to be able to respond quickly and accurately. Outbound contact also should be personal, relevant, and timely, and it should be in sync. Obviously, I sort of chuckle in sync with inbound, but it's often the case that marketing is running a promotion and they're reaching out to a customer. That customer calls into the contact center, and they have no idea what outbound promotion has been talked about. And there's a big mismatch on the front end interactions and back end interactions, and those need to be those things I mentioned are personal, relevant, timely, but also it does need to be that information needs to be spread across that customer value chain. And this requires a complete understanding of the customer journey. And so I think this is an area where companies often struggle. The customer journey isn't just when they pick up the phone and they call in. It's likely they've started that interaction well in the past. It's likely they've already looked at your website. It's likely they've already done some research on their own. And you need to know those things. And so the customer journey itself is a long process, much of which is digital in nature. And by the time they contact your brand, they've already gone through at least half that journey. And so you do need to understand the entire journey and provide the right information at each stage of the journey, because when they're just in the research phase, that's a different type of information that they need when they're in the purchasing phase or the post-purchase phase, right? And so this, like I said, this understanding of the customer journey is something that I think a lot of businesses tend to struggle with. And so if you look at the journey, it's not just service, it's not just contact center, right? It's all these things. It starts with marketing, it goes to the sales process. There's customer success people involved. There's the operational back end. There is the inbound service side, and there's also the outbound service side, right? So the customer journey is a multifaceted equation, each with its own data set. I think one of the struggles companies have is they often have the data from these different parts of the journey in silos. And in data sciences, there's an expression that says, good data leads to good insights, right? And that's certainly true, but the corollary is true as well, where silos of data lead to fragmented insights. And so if you're using, if your data is in silos and you're not trying to mine the information across it, when you find the insights, say, in the sales portion of the journey, it could conflict with something on the service side. And that's why it's important to have, an understanding of the end-to-end journey. Lastly, I'm just going to touch on some keys to great customer experience in the digital era. Obviously, digital-first communications across the entire journey. Almost every interaction today starts with through some kind of digital means. That doesn't mean people aren't important. In fact, I think people remain extremely important to show empathy and understand what customers are trying to do. But by the time it flips to a person, that person then needs to be well informed. But digital communications is where a lot of these are going to start. You also want to modernize all your touch points and embrace digital technologies. There's a whole bunch of advanced technology coming. 5G, we're connecting more things. I think one of the interesting aspects of IoT is now there's more IoT devices talking to people and people talking to IoT devices. You think of all the home, devices we have, all the devices that are in retailers and in buildings now. We're doing more and more with the cloud. That's allowing us to do more processing quickly, so we can bring in the elements of AI, we can bring in the elements of mobile. And so, I think what you're seeing here is we're approaching somewhat of a technology perfect storm, where all these technologies are coming together, and it's going to create almost a whole new economic model, much like the internet did, 20, 30 years ago, when it wasn't just one thing that created the internet economy, right? It was low-cost PCs, browsers, home broadband, things like that. And I think you look at these technologies I've listed here, and it's having that same kind of impact. I can't stress enough how important it is to connect your data across all your systems over your customer journey. I talked about that before, where fragmented data leads to silos of insights, and you certainly don't want to have that. And then lastly, you want to optimize front-end experiences and back-end operations. The two go hand in hand, right? There's no customer journey that well, in fact, the only way you'll have a customer journey that is only part of that is if the customer gets frustrated and leaves. And so I think again, all this leads to having a full understanding of the customer journey from start to finish, and having one data set that can do that, where you can optimize all your operations. And so that's the end of my formal presentation. I'll be back for some Q&A later, but I want to turn it over to BICS now.
Okay, thank you, Zeus. I appreciate, in first place, I really liked all the data you have presented and all the trends in the customer experience. And actually, everything is quite crystal clear to all of us, because we are, as a user, experience often those type of experiences, and we prefer always brands that provide us with a better experience. If we think about 15 years ago, for example, just Apple and Amazon were able to provide a very good customer experience. And this has been for them a very huge competitive advantage. They were two companies like competing in an industry today. What was very important was the fact that to have that type of customer-centric approach, they had to invest heavily in technology. Today, technology, it's widely available. It's way more available than back then. And even companies that don't have that budget to spend in terms of technology advancement can actually get access to more complex solutions like communication platform as a services, and the digital transformation. It's actually more, it's closer than any other time in the history. So what we wanted to actually talk about, it's a little bit about the digital transformation itself, and from 360 degrees. So for both internal and external. Internally, I guess COVID has speed up this digital transformation, especially within the company, because nowadays it's way more common to work from home, or like to have a global distributed team, for example, that collaborates from all places in the world. This is the demonstration, like this webinar itself. So what I mean is that when we think about digital transformation, we need to think about something which is internal and external. External, obviously, as the customer experience we were mentioning before. The customer experience, the first question we should ask ourselves when we start the process, of digital transformation, it's if we are actually connecting the dots, engaging with our clients in the better possible way, and even providing. This is a very big question, because if we think about the connectivity landscape, actually, this is today, it's as Zeus was mentioning, like we have more devices connected than people connected to devices. So what it means that from a customer experience perception, for example, again, Amazon, it's able to provide you with real data about your item, the item that you have purchased in the application, because it's able to retrieve this data from the track of the delivery of the logistic company that is performing the delivery, presenting this information in their own system, and the user is able to have a good experience. So now you are able to see how long you should wait to get your delivery, even in the same day, how many hours maybe it should take. So changes in terms of how devices and people are connected, it's the first thing that we should ask for ourselves, if we are actually working properly from this point of view. From another point of view, we should talk always ask ourselves if we're optimizing. So Zeus again was saying something which is very important. Data, it's all over. We are receiving a lot of data, and the information is flowing between devices, people, customers, and this information as well has some cost related, obviously, to the connectivity. So once we are able to connect in the proper way our ecosystem as a company, we should be able to optimize this type of the cost related, let's say, to this type of setup. Everything else is less relevant. You know, we need to be sure that we are using actually the proper data, and this data is properly secured in the cloud. So what I wanted to go a little bit further, it's about the, sorry, I'm trying to change slide. Okay. So it's about what type of features we should take care of when we talk about digital transformation. So in first place, what we have to make sure is that the technology we are using is scalable. Again, because as we were mentioning before, having a scalable technology means that you are able to connect globally users, customers around the globe, providing the same experience. So there is a coherent experience independent from the channel they are using, the location they are actually located in. And from another point of view, we need to be sure to deploy the technological solution that we acquire, like we adopt, it's able to be deployed in a very quickly and efficient way. That's because essentially we live in a very fast-paced world where consumer behavior changes, business processes changes, and the solution we adopt should be as flexible as well as agile, and should be able to be changed, not requiring a lot of investment. Fast in changing and is flexible enough. From the last point is that one of the main requirements today is that the ecosystem is able to be interconnected. Again, like we were talking about silos, how different departments sometimes are working independently and the data is not really shared in the system. And this is actually a big problem because the data is relevant and help us to understand better our customers, understand better our the value that we can provide to them, as long as we have the right data in the right place. So this type of requirements are the requirements we should take care of. Here, where you can see the root information and the free question we were asking to ourselves, you know, like in BICS, we take care of all those points. And they engage through like different communication channels that can be internal communication as Microsoft Teams, for example, or like external communication channel like chat apps, SMS, voice, and so on, so on, so on. And the fact that the infrastructure must be secure, the fact that we have to be able to put in place all the protocols that are relevant to ensure the security of the data and of our customer at the end of the day. And then the connecting part, which is really relevant, be sure that we provide an ecosystem where devices, application, and humans are connected all together and the information is able to flow between the parties. So going a little bit deeper in the engage side of these three, let's talk about the main trends we have been seeing in the last few years, actually, with our clients. In first place, obviously, and I guess from this point of view, COVID-19 again has speed up a little bit the what we call phygital, which is essentially combination between the digital and experience and the physical experience. So like we need to be very we need to make sure brands need to make sure that we are able to provide a coherent experience to our customer independently if they are interacting with the brand online and offline. Just to give you an example, you can into consideration the automation. No? So lately we have seen a lot of talk about conversational AI thanks to ChatGPT. So ChatGPT, it's a very powerful conversational AI model that can be applied for business. But in order to be successful, because it should be deployed strategically inside the company, we should allow our customer to have productive and positive conversation, even with our artificial intelligence assistant, like digital assistant, how we used to call it. But this conversation should be positive, and so should be, anyhow, the digital assistant always should have the same identity. So again, we go back to the coherence in the experience. From a point of the digital channels and the physical channel, even when we provide automation, optimization in our processes, it must be coherent again with the same type of experience for the user. So this is very relevant and provides a brand identity that it's recognized independently from the channel that the customer is using to connect with us. Then again, the smarter products and services, as we have seen, there are like more information coming from products and services nowadays. Everyone is wearing almost a smartwatch. We can keep under control our health, everything which is related to our health and to our habits as well. And then again, like the personalization. If we were talking about personalization, as Zeus was mentioning, personalization is a new standard from this point of view. We do expect customization in the way the brand's must be relevant for us, should arrive at the right time in the proper way. So this is a very good, huge trend that we are seeing, because most of the company using legacy system were actually not able to provide this type of personalization during the communication process. In BICS, we have, for example, our CPaaS platform, which is able to customize the communication, schedule the communication, integrate the communication with other systems to retrieve information and provide this information to the final user. So this type of experience, this type of capabilities are the capabilities that are providing you the added value that consumers are looking for or expect from the brands now. They are not just experiencing that occasionally, but it's going to be a new standard for the future as well and for the present. So we see how we have collected some of the competencies that you will need to have successful digital transformation processes in terms of communication. And again, this is a recap. There will be probably way more than this, but just to give you an idea, we are talking about often with our client about multi-channel support, for example, which is global. You don't need to be everywhere. Like sometimes I hear, that you need to be in all the communication channels. To me, it's not. This is not true. In my opinion, system your clients are using, then you should be available for them there. We can imagine, for example, in Europe, WhatsApp from Meta, it's quite big. Point available in other parts of the world. So you need to be just where it's relevant for you. From another point of view, we can see how customer journey-based solutions. So essentially, you cannot build or like use pre-built customer journey that sometimes you see in software. From another point of view, we need to have an horizontal communication solution. So the capability to be able to use some sort of generic use cases that are cross-industry. So like alert, notification, campaign management, which is quite common. And everything you see here, every tool you see here is actually, the basic is that to be able to be integrated with other services. So like if there's something that I want to highlight, it's the integration part with the plugin and the API. So going forward, as you can see, like in BICS, we provide different type of services. We have the orchestrated customer communication, so where you can build your own, your specific customer experience, customer flow, and you can define it and change it in a very easy way. This type of orchestration is now basic. You can essentially do anything regarding the customer experience, schedule things and schedule different type of touch points with the customer. We provide as well from the internal tool. The internal tool, it's essentially, for example, Microsoft Teams, that it's widely used at this stage. It's the most used internal collaboration tool. We currently are in we are partnered with Microsoft from this point of view, and we are able to provide, for example, connectivity between through voice channels using Microsoft Teams. From another point of view, like we have launched just recently a global hosting solution by BICS, which is a service where we want to support, and it's based actually on the feedback of our clients that needed, for example, telephony services, and they were struggling with the regulations and laws that are in place. We are able to provide information and to keep the system always compliant. And just to give you an idea, and I'll just wrap up a little bit, what we see right now, we see different type of use cases based often on the department, which is quite common, like quite cross-industry, let's say, use cases with marketing, like orchestration, what we have seen, and operation, like the fact that all company needs to make the login processes, the authentication process more safer right now. And from the customer support, obviously, most of the, let's say, digital transformation processes are taking place to optimize the cost, to have just one single source of data. And from vertical, let's say, related use case, we have similar use cases in the same industry, and we need to, let's say, adapt ourselves as well and adapt the system. From this point of view, our system is quite flexible to the different verticals we are operating in. And this is just an overview of our infrastructure, how the information flows in our system. As you can see on the left, we see the horizontal use case we were talking about. We see then the integration, so the system that businesses are using actually to use the information, to provide information to the customer. You can use those type of integration. We have a lot of integration which is out of the our own UI, our own applications, where you can actually build the customer experience, that you want to achieve for your customer. And from the right side, you see we will take care of the complexity. So all the fact that you are using different channels, the regulation of those channels, the relations with the provider of those channels, so operators, OTT company, and so on, and cloud providers, and so on. At the end, it's the main goal is to provide this exceptional customer experience to our customer in order to be closer to them and to keep them with us. And as you know, losing a customer, it's way more expensive than to win it back or like to acquire new customer. And as we have talked about before, most of the time we are not talking about just outside communication, internal communication. We talk about information that is flowing from all places, all devices, application, and humans. So this information has to flow in the proper way. And so now I leave the floor to my colleague Gabriel for to talk about a little bit more about this.
Thank you very much, Francesco, for the overview. Thank you very much all to join us during this webinar. So basically, I will cover during the next slide some details about connectivity, because during this presentation we talked a lot about data. For sure, data is truly important, but we cannot forget that some infrastructure, some softwares, some products should be available in order to do product integration. Because data, you can measure the data, you can get some sites, but it's important to understand the other technologies that are available in the market and how these technologies will facilitate the way how companies are manipulating the data. So then in this slide related to connectivity, you guys can see, especially on the 5G area. So now there are a lot of people talking about 5G standalone and non-standalone. I will cover deeply some details about this technology during the next slides. A new trend is the embedded SIM. So on the embedded SIM space, we have eSIM for consumers, as well as eSIM for M2M, machine to machine, which means IoT devices itself. The next one is connectivity twin. So there are a lot of people talking about digital twin. So it's the ability to virtualize physical models, and then you can manipulate this data properly in an external environment. And then we have the mobile private network. But it's always important to reemphasize that I would say the second main concern of our enterprises nowadays is about security. And I saw in the chat one question about that. So I will explain a little bit about the IoT Safe, which is a root of trust that can be installed directly in the device, as well as other concepts about the security. Just one last thing related to this slide. BICS was recognized as one of the top 20 IoT connectivity players in the market. So this is extremely important because it shows that we are going in the right direction in terms of provide the best solution for our customers. In terms of SIM for Things integration with hyperscalers, here I'd like to emphasize that companies are looking, it's important to understand that it's all about integration. So we have different systems, different protocols, different devices, and it's true, there are some movement in terms of standardization, but we also know that this is not something easy to be done. That is the reason why there are, APIs, SDKs, there are any type of technologies available to do these integrations. But we also know that there are, a lot of developments happening on the cloud. That's the reason why we decided to integrate or to help customers to do the integration from their devices to a cloud space, making sure that the data will move properly in this scenario. So in terms of what BICS provides, we help companies to bring data from the on-premise environment to the cloud environment, providing cloud connectors, providing efficient way in terms of security, helping them to manipulate this data, and of course, providing the infrastructure, the 5G infrastructure for our end customers. So talking about a little bit about digital twin. So this is, I would say, one of the biggest, the embedded scene. So this is for sure one of the biggest trends in our market. Here, it's important, again, to understand the two scenarios. I would say that eSIM for consumer is fully ready, because then we have what we call a push model and pull model. Okay, so basically, as the consumer, we have the human interaction. You can easily download a QR code and then start an interaction with the server and get the SIM profile. And at this point, you can switch from one MNO to another one. So this help companies to, to optimize. I would say the users to optimize their usability and etc. One of the most important topics for sure is the latency, because when you are using your cell phone, it's extremely good when you have a good connection, when you can use this properly and etc. But when we move to the eSIM for M2M, the scenario is a little bit different, because of course you don't have human interaction. You need to upload or send the data for thousands or millions of the devices. So what we are doing, it's helping customers and companies to do this in an efficient way. So then we can provide the entire infrastructure and help then, to unlock this current problem in terms of connectivity. So you can easily move, you can easily optimize, you can easily have good latency, and that's it. So this is for sure one important step in terms of digitalization. We'll jump this one. Then talking a little bit about connectivity twin. So as I said here, I have a good example to be shared. So you cannot test an airplane in the air. So basically, this is what means digital twin. So you can you have the ability to create digital representation of a business environment, but more than that, you can manipulate the data. You can test the sensors, you can see what is happening, and etc. And then we realized that companies were not getting in a certain way data coming from the connectivity side. So, okay, we have the device, I can see the device on the cloud, I can get insights for the device, but in the end, no one was getting the data from the connectivity perspective. So at this point, BICS decided to create a product called Connectivity Twin. So basically, is the ability to bring this data and interact with other systems. So basically, we have a plug-and-play solution you can download in the AWS and Microsoft store, and with this plugin, you can replicate the SIM card performance. You can see in real time what's going on with the device. And again, as I said, data means measure, and control means insight, so optimization. So if you can measure and if you can get insights, of course you can improve your application. So this is something really interesting, something really new in the industry, and I would say that we are extremely proud to launch something like that. Then, in terms of security, GSMA has defined a standard for security. So basically, there is a component called IoT Safe that is the ability to install root of the trust into the SIM card. So a good example to explain this in a simple way is when you are using in your PC a bank system. So you need to download a certificate that will make sure that the communication between your PC and their server will happen in a safe way. And this is exactly what we have been doing. So you can have the eSIM and the embedded SIM running the IoT Safe application. It's always important to emphasize that from the backbone perspective, from the infrastructure perspective, BICS owns the HSSP gateway and the connectivity management platform. So in a short, you can manipulate this data knowing that no one will have access. So there are a lot of layers that we can guarantee that the data will be delivered from the side A to the side B I would say in a safe environment. Then we also have another product called Smart. So basically here is the ability to get real-time insights, because again, we have the data, but as I said in the beginning of the presentation, we should have not only the infrastructure, but the software or the applications that are able to manage this data properly. So at this stage, from the network perspective, we are offering 4 different products which you can manage in real time the network, I would say, quality, making sure that in some cases you can act or react immediately. So at this stage, I would say that we have a kind of predictive maintenance for network systems. Okay, then the last one related to the products, we have solutions for mobile private network. So basically here it's more about mobility. So in a short, certain companies, especially on the utility side or the smart manufacturing side, so they don't want to use the same network as other users like us, I would say consumers. So at this stage, we have the ability to provide a dedicated business network that allows, I would say, to interconnect people and things using 4G or 5G networks. Just as an example here, there are, I would say, 5 items that we can take in consideration. So the first one is connected workers. So it's all about mobility. So you are in a factory, you are in an airport, you are in a seaport. Of course, you have these connected workers interacting with the machines in real time. Then we have the sensor data monitoring. So you have machines generating millions of inputs and insights per second. The third one, I would say, it's what we call location and tracking. So when we are in such big places like these ones I've mentioned, we need to know where the devices are and etc. Then the real-time control, because we can, as I said, we can have the control of the data, but we also need to have the ability to act immediately when necessary. And the last one is related to data analytics. Okay, getting this data, we can manipulate this properly, and if it's not necessary to act immediately, we can create some historian and improve the systems in the future. I will jump this one. So, and then just the last one in terms of connectivity, I would say in terms of solution, we are ready to help companies in all aspects of connectivity, since from the device, because in IoT, I would say we have 4 big layers. We have the devices, we have connectivity service providers, we have what we call middlewares, which includes connectivity management platforms, device management platforms, data analytics, and others. And then we have the customer applications. So what we are doing is helping customers to interconnect all of these layers through infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, or software as a service. So basically, when you see this customer use cases on the right side, this is what we are offering and helping customers to do. And just to finalize my presentation, as I have only 4 minutes, I would say that there are a lot of technologies in this environment. Of course, data is the gold, but again, we need to have all other aspects like communication platforms as a service. IoT is not only the beautiful word, but we need to have the infrastructure. So we need to invest in 5G technologies, because this is a market which sometimes requires a low quantity data transaction. Then you can use, for example, low power wide area technologies such as narrowband IoT, Cat-M. Then you have, of course, 5G. Then, as I said, you need to have the ability to manage the connectivity data as well as the device data. So if you have a company that can provide in a certain way a lot of technologies to help you to speed your development, this is for sure extremely helpful, because when you buy time, you can launch your product quickly, you can optimize your development phase and etc. And then this is my last one. Why BICS? Not sure if all of you know, but BICS is part of Proximus Group. Proximus is the biggest MNO in Belgium. So last year the group did 12 billion euros in revenue. BICS brought 1.2 billion euros. So I would say we are dealing with the two scenarios from the telecom perspective. So we have more than 50% of the global roaming traffic in the world. So this is extremely interesting, because we act as an MNO, a MVNE, and MVNO. And now looking for this digital transformation scenario, we are able to link the two products, offering all of the services that we have mentioned during the presentation. So on time, I will get back to Eric, and that's all from my side.
Okay, thanks very much, Zeus and Francesco and Gabriel. And yes, we have got a couple minutes for questions. I'll start on the question of 5G. What are the benefits of 5G SA compared to 5G non-SA? And I believe that's either Francesco or Gabriel to start.
Yeah, no, I can take this one. So I would say there are 5 big items. Okay, so the first one, I would say it's the ultra low and reliable latency, going as low as 5 milliseconds or less on a standalone technology network, 5G network. The second one is that you can scale massively. So this is because the non-standalone basically use the same architecture of the 4G, and the standalone, it's a new concept using containers and etc. The third one, in terms of voice calling, you can use what we call voice over new radio. And the fourth one, I had said 5, but 4 it's more than enough. The standalone, you can consume in a certain way less power. This for the IoT environment, I would say it's extremely important.
Okay. Any Zeus? I don't know if you have anything to add on that.
No, I think those are the primary. I mean, it's just a cleaner way to do it, right? You're not tied into a lot of the legacy infrastructure and things like that. So as you mentioned, you get better scale, you get better performance, and I think it's a lot of it depends on what's currently deployed, but I do think the points you made are all valid there. So.
All right, and I think we got time for maybe one more question. Again, maybe for the gentleman at BICS, whoever wants to start on this. What is the most used channel today? And we talked a little about some of the emerging use cases. Are there some emerging channels that we're seeing?
Okay, I can take it. It's essentially I would say that the most used channel in terms of communication channels, it's SMS, due to the high penetration. The SMS doesn't need a lot of data to work. So if you think globally, obviously we have area in which the connectivity it's more difficult than other places. Not like big cities are quite connected, but like when we go in some more, let's say, remote areas, the connectivity can be an issue, and SMS ensure quite good connectivity with voice, which is another very good and channel which is a very penetration. Often based on on some use cases. So we see, for example, especially for conversational commerce, for example, which is emerging right now, which is rich communication technology like RCS, like WhatsApp, like Facebook Messenger, and all these type of TT channels. But often, let's say that depending on the content of the communication, depending on the channels of the, let's say the geography of the user, the final user, those the emerging channels can be very, very different. But in general, SMS and voice are predominant nowadays.
Yeah, although it does tend to vary quite a bit by demographic. And so older demographics still uses voice a lot, right? They tend to use a lot of email. Younger demographic is very much SMS and social media driven. I do think the social as a channel is something that's grown quite a bit over the last few years, and I think you'll continue to see that be one of the big areas of growth.
Okay.
Yes, indeed.
All right, and with that, we've just about come to the top of the hour, so we'll finish off on our webinar. I want to thank Zeus, Francesco, and Gabriel for your expertise and your time today talking about today's topic. Thanks to BICS for sponsoring this webinar, and of course to everyone in the audience for attending. We appreciate your attention and your participation. Within the next 24 hours, you're going to get a personalized follow-up email with details and a link to today's presentation on demand. Please do feel free to share that with your colleagues and peers who might not have been able to attend today, but would also get something out of this webinar. The webinar is copyright by Informa. Presentation materials are owned by or copyrighted by Enterprise Connect and BICS, and the individual speakers are solely responsible for their content and their opinions. Also, on behalf of our guests from BICS and Zeus Kerravala from ZK Research, I'm Eric Kraft. Thanks for your time and have a great day.